So we are going live, and I believe we are live right now, and it is only me. So for those of you who are tuning in, this is a really, really big deal for me, because I'm going to have to kind of talk to you for a little while, make sure that everything's actually working. So I'm just going to check. It says that things are live, and that's making me very happy right now. So I am going to introduce the wonderful Nick. Nick Haynes is here with me from the 5 Institute. I'm going to talk to you a teeny little bit about the buzz in our business before I actually let him talk. And then I'm actually going to start doing some comments and sharing this out in all sorts of ways. So there's a lot to handle. So let me invite you on, first of all, if you are doing this. My hope is that everything is coming out very well. And just sort of say, if you are watching this as a hashtag replay, please do a hashtag replay. We like it when you do that. And it just makes us very happy to see that we are able to provide you with the value that we're able to provide you with. The biggest thing that's going on right now is inside the Connection Hub, for which I will do a little link in a moment. Inside the Connection Hub, we are running our famous Avatar Challenge, hashtag Avatar Challenge. So please do join us inside the Connection Hub. You've only missed a day, so you can definitely catch up. And it's really all about getting to know who you serve in depth so that you can serve them even better. It's a brilliant challenge, and you might even get some inspiration from everybody else that's actually doing that as well. So please do that. I can't pin that to the top of the post, but we'll, oh, there we go, marvelous. So that one's all done. I'm now going to share it out in here. But the other thing I'm going to say before I let Nick kind of tell you, not so much about him first, but about the buzz in his business. I'll ask him what's going on in a moment. I'm on holiday at the end of the week. Kelly's off doing a course at the moment. On Thursday, I'm running, just before I go on holiday, I'm running a boot camp on how to build a tribe up in Scotland, of all places. So there's a lot of jet setting going on inside the joys and delights that is Speaker Insight at the moment. So Nick, whilst I share these out to where they're going, do you want to say hello and share the buzz in your business?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. And thank you first for having me here. Absolutely fantastic. So the buzz in my business, yeah. Well, I think we talked at the beginning of this year, didn't we, about what an incredibly special year this was. And one of the things that we've got to do is really diligently dig in to what it is that we do and not get too hung up about perfection. So the buzz in our business is we're just doing loads of stuff. We're working with lots of different businesses. We're working with lots of different individuals. I've done some work for the United Nations looking at kindness and mental health, well-being. And we're just putting lots of content out there. And the idea is that we don't get too hung up on perfection. Doesn't mean it's not top quality. Doesn't mean it's not, we're really proud of it, but we're really working on getting over this idea that, oh, it just has to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise it's not worthy of being out there. This is a time for us and for everyone just to step in and do what we do well. So that's what we're doing at the 5 Institute. We're helping people understand themselves, understand their business, understand the context of the world, have better relationships. Very unniched, may I say.
I completely love it, is all I can say. Well, you know, the thing is that certain people actually are unniched in some way, but that doesn't actually, you know, that doesn't mean you don't have an avatar. Your avatar is linked almost by the values, the qualities, and the desire, the hunger for learning about self, about others, and the contribution that's actually going on. So I'm in avatar mode at the moment, Nick. So I might relate a lot of this back to the avatar, just because we've got quite a few people inside the Connection Hub, you know, doing the challenge and actually just going, well, you know, it's this, and they go to the surface stuff. And actually, we want to take people just that little bit further down below, because the further down below you are of the comments, the easier it is to actually understand and resonate and relate, or have your avatar understand, resonate and relate to you. So it's very appropriate that we're doing our interview in this week that happens to be, and whilst we look like we're that planned, we're not. It just happened this way. Just for all of you who think we're now superhuman, we're not. It's wonderful. So Nick, welcome, welcome, welcome. You have been a glorious friend of mine for quite a few years now, and I truly love and respect this work. So I'm really glad that we've managed to get you on here, because this whole idea of following a rhythm in your business is something that's very dear to my heart, and is something that I encourage everyone who's either through Speaker Insight or through the Connection Hub to really kind of find their own rhythm. We talk about doing business on your terms, and that to me fits beautifully with this whole kind of finding a rhythm. And so we'll talk about the energies of the year that you were just talking about a little bit more during this this whole interview. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to understand so much about rhythm in the business? What do the people need to know about you before I ask you loads of questions?
Okay, let me think. I have always loved business. That's the first thing that kind of pops into my head. So where did I get to know about business? When I was 20, I went to Los Angeles to do some work at an acupuncture college, and I had to learn some of the theory. And in that moment, I sat in the very first class, and they started talking about Chinese energies, and I had a very strange experience in that I think my brain was rewired, or I tapped into something that some part of me already knew. But I suddenly, although they were talking about health with these energies, I suddenly saw how businesses flowed, how societies flowed, how economics flowed, how politics flowed, how we flow, and it was almost, I could see the map of. And I then went to China to try and find out more about what I'd experienced and what I'd seen. And they just literally didn't know what I was talking about. And then I tried to read, and I couldn't find anything in terms of what I'd experienced and what I'd seen. So I spent the next kind of 35 years in practice, exploring, discussing with people. I calculated the other day, I did over 50,000 one-on-one consultations with people.
Wow.
50,000. Over 50,000. And I've taught and I've lectured. And it's all about this exploration of who we are as individuals and how we show up with whatever it is that we're deciding to do, whether we're entrepreneur or whether we're a parent or whether we're a teacher, wherever it is. So it comes from this rewire, from constant study, and from 50,000 one-on-one consultations.
I can honestly say that, you know, sort of like, so obviously the 10,000 hour thing kind of springs to mind. And on it, and again, I'm back to almost the avatar challenge. The more you know what's in front of you, the easier it is to serve people. So what I love is what you've then done with it, and actually really taken that into something that is spectacular, and that is very business apt and very appropriate for people to understand how they are, who they are, how they flow, and how that creates flow in their business. So you know, how would, because for me the biggest thing here is around really allowing people to understand what flow is. So do give me your definition of that, because I know that's really important here. And then how the speakers, authors and coaches that are on this call or that might be watching later are actually going to be able to identify that they aren't in flow or operating in their little kind of rhythm. Tell us more about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I flow is context, and I actually think it's a very dangerous thing. So one of the things that can happen is people do this work to get someone in flow, and they get them in flow in a very, very badly designed business. So what happens is they get full on, loads of customers, loads of activity, loads of stuff going, and they head towards a brick wall at a much faster speed. and you get the burnout. So when people talk about, oh, you need to be in your energy and you need to be fully in flow, that isn't actually what you're really aiming to be. You need to be in flow within the context of the design of your business. And you need to be looking at keeping your other energies in balance. Because if you say an ideas person, and, oh, I need to be in flow, I just need to be creating, coming up with ideas and all stuff, that's the road to utter madness. And when you see people, or you think, actually, my flow is interacting and socializing, being and connecting with people and doing like that, again, that's a road to something else. It needs to be within a framework and a context and balanced out with, which is why we've talked about before about having rituals and rhythms within your life that allow you to maintain you on the edge of your brilliance, because it's a very fine line between your brilliance and hitting a brick wall. And the more you're on the edge of that brilliance, the more you actually have to have a rhythm and a routine and stability and a knowledge. So being fully in flow without that context it's really dangerous for people, and I think it's quite irresponsible.
Wow.
So we construct a lot around making sure that people are here for the long term. Burnout doesn't work for us.
Do you know, I really love that. And so there are probably quite a few people who, in fact, hang on, I'm just going to pop to those new comments. There are a couple of hellos that are kind of coming in. So how do people figure out the energy that they're actually in, first and foremost? And then how do they begin to use that? Like, how do they design their business in that way? That's quite an interesting one.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you want to find out your energy type, then at the 5 Institute, you just go to the5institute.com and you can take the vitality test. It's completely free. And it will give you this blend of these 5 energies, the pattern of who you are. And it will start to give you some insights about where your strengths lie. And the one thing about the vitality test, it doesn't box you in and say, oh, you are a so-and-so. What you are is a pattern. And I've seen in your group, people are talking about constellations. The vitality test is a constellation of 5 different energies coming together. Yeah. And once you start to understand that, you can start to recognize that this sort of business would suit you and this sort of business really wouldn't suit you. And you start to construct it around that. We tend to know that we're in a badly designed business, or there's something at odds. And I think there are 3 ways we tend to see it show up. The first one is people procrastinate. They're just not taking action. And procrastination can be very busy procrastination. You're all the time doing things and studying and learning and listening, doing this, but you're not actually moving forward, or you're overcoming your procrastination. It's really hard work because some bit of you knows that you're actually designing something, you're working towards something that doesn't really suit you, even though the thing that doesn't suit you will make loads of money, have all the 6 signs of success. Your energy knows that where you're heading doesn't actually suit you.
Nick,
and so you procrastinate.
There are several people who either watching now or watching later will go, yes, you see, I knew there was a reason I wasn't doing the thing. So I'm going to wag my finger at some of you and go, yeah. For some of you, it's what Nick's saying. For others, it's like, I'm going to slap you and just get on with it.
Yeah. So when I think you were on, we did that series, The Enlightened Procrastinator. Yes. And the Enlightened Procrastinator was exploring this very nature about why we procrastinate, of which one thing is a poorly designed business, another one is highly sensitive, etc., etc. The second reason we kind of know that we're not in that flow or we're in a poorly designed business is we're tired. We're tired or depressed or fed up or frustrated or whatever emotion it is that matches our energy, or confused or whatever it is. And the third thing that we kind of know where we're in that place is often we're starting to feel a failure. We're starting to feel like there's something wrong with us when we're seeing all these superstars around doing all this stuff and you're thinking, well, why aren't I making it work for me? Well, that's their bag, not your bag, and trying to follow them, you're not going to do it. It's going to be really hard. And we end up feeling a lot of people end up very damaged in this entrepreneurial world because they're following a path, following a business design or structure that doesn't necessarily suit them. I don't like this idea that there is a path to something. It's a construction, it's a design, it's everything around us is actually designed except most of our lives.
and I think for us, I think the reason that Kelly has actually joined, so she's on her course, but she's obviously checking in just to say hello. So we'll say hi, hun. She is on the constellations course at the moment, so that's exactly
Brilliant.
Yeah. So that's where you'll have heard some of that from. But what's interesting about that is that we talk about building a business on your terms, because it's helping people ensure that they really are taking into consideration everything around them, what they want to achieve, who they're actually being, how they're doing what they're doing. And that was one of the reasons why when you and I were originally speaking, I was like, oh my God, you have to come and speak to all the speakers, authors and coaches, because of course many of them, though, particularly the jet setting, seemingly successful, speakers who are getting on and off planes, going off and doing keynotes everywhere, they may well be heading for that burnout that you're talking about, depending on their energy and the mapping of their business, right?
I as you know, I don't do these businessy ones that often. I loved your tribe, what you were about, and I didn't, to be honest, it didn't take a lot of arm twisting to get me on talk, because it's really powerful. It's really powerful stuff, and it has to be aligned with a kind of a morality, a set of values that match mine, or I believe to be true. And it's doing the best for people in the biggest context, not because in that narrow sense. So I just love business on your own terms and what you're doing, and this. So I'm hoping to be able to add in some a framework and some structure to kind of walk people through. So would it be interesting to kind of look at what we call the vital business map, looking at how you map out businesses?
I would be upset with you if you didn't, because this is actually why I got you on here in the first place.
Okay.
Please just take the stage, and thank you for all the comments about the Connection Hub. I really appreciate it. That's exactly what we set out to do. But this is exactly why I wanted you to come here and really talk to people about the business map. So take the stage, and I'm just going to listen excitedly again.
Okay, we'll do this. And one thing I think you'll really see is what a fantastic job you're doing here. Because what I'm going to show, you'll go, oh yeah, that's what we do. Oh yeah, that's what we do. Oh yes, that's what we do. And in a way, the Vital Business Map it's a structure to see excellence at play. And there's a few kind of few other things. So you'll think, oh God, you just talked about what we do. It's just a structure to see that excellence at play.
So get ready to get pens out, people, because Nick's about to kind of share the screen and do you some education. So please, please, please.
There we are. We're starting out with a blank screen. That's our life. As I said before, this is based around your energy type, which you can find out by just going to 5institute.com, and there you'll find the vitality test. Here you can see my vitality test profile, which is this mix between wood, fire, and earth energy. And I'll explain the context of all those energies as we go through the vital business map. Now, the vital business map is basically, there are 5 stages to a business, and each stage, to move from one stage to another, there's like a transition point, something that you've got to do. Now, you can miss out a stage and not particularly think you have a problem, or you can miss out a transition point and appear to be moving along fine through your business. However, what will happen is it will kind of punish you or catch up with you later. And when it catches up with you later, you'll think you have a problem at that particular stage. So as we look, bump into this earth energy stage and it all starts going wrong, people often think, okay, this is where my problem lies, but actually the problem may actually lie because you didn't do something up here. And so we end up trying to fix the wrong place, and then or just become really confused. The other thing that can go on is that we can, at each one of these energy stages, we can be either spend too long in that stage based on our energy, or we can skip over it based on our energy. We can be blind to it, or we can become obsessed with it. Each of them is problematic. So the idea of the Vital Business Map is to move you through each stage, making sure you do each thing, and that you don't get tied up with your energy type. So should we look at?
So yes, and Nick, please will you just reassure everybody for a second that if they've already begun their business and they don't know any of this and where they're actually at, that doesn't matter and that it's okay.
Yeah, I'd like to reassure everybody that's listening, wherever you are in your business, if you've already started your business, it's perfectly all right.
Kelly's going to be laughing at me right now.
I think I might have missed out that stage. You can just nip back and nail it down a bit.
That's really good.
Nothing is fixed. This is a framework and a guideline to give you a map to see where you are, where you've been, and if it's helpful to work out why you might be lost. That's all it is. And I ran a big event in Iceland on this, and we went through the business map. And one of the biggest compliments I got was this really successful business person said, "I love this because it's just structured common sense. It's not rocket science. It's just structured common sense."
Love that.
And that's the idea. This is structured common sense in business. And it's designed to help you get over when we tend to get carried away in certain areas. So let's look at what we'll do is we'll look at each individual stage quite quickly, but I'll just point out a few little nuances and little things that you might need to watch out for. So we start in our business, or we start out in this particular stage, we start at the water energy phase, and water is related to winter, and in winter it's this pause between what has been and what's going to come. So at this water energy stage, we may have just moved into entrepreneurial life from employment, or it might be we're reinventing ourselves, or it might be that we've done something and we want to do something new. But we're in this pause at which we have a history. We have a history to us, to our lives, things you've done in the past, and your history has a value to it. You've got a certain amount of resources. You might have a certain amount of money, or you might have a certain amount of experiences. You might have a certain amount of connections, or you might have no money and you might have no experience and you might have no connections, and that matters. So being aware of the resources that you have and the value of your history is really important, just to start to build on this particular stage. And you may also have water energy is the only energy that leaves its mark on the earth. Think about Grand Canyons and glaciers. So water is about our deep purpose, what we want to leave behind. So at this particular stage, we're looking at what's my legacy? What do I want to leave behind? What resources have I got? What's my history? What am I bringing into the party? What is it that I'm sensing that I want to do? Then what happens is we kind of move into the next phase, and we start to kind of have an inkling of an idea. It's like spring starts to arrive, which is that wood energy. Spring starts to arrive. Oh, perhaps I could do this. And
it's like the possibility one.
The possibility starts to appear. Now, if you've got lots of water energy, and if that's in your profile, every energy has an eternal question, a big question that they're always asking. And with water energy, our big question is, am I safe? Is it safe? Do I have the resources? How do I feel about it? So if you've got a lot of water energy, you can just get stuck in this stage. And business just becomes academic because, I don't quite feel safe. I need to perhaps research a bit more, make sure I've got a bit more resources. I haven't found my purpose. That's why I can't get going. So one almost gets stuck in this floating around phase, and one
I
doesn't move
suspect
forward.
I suspect that there are quite a few people going, oh my word, I think that might be me. So that's great. Isn't it good to know, people?
Yeah, and it's great to know, because one of the things about the Vital Business Map, particularly for people with a lot of water energy, it is designed to keep you safe. It's designed to match your resources. It's designed to give you your meaningful purpose, and it's designed for you to create history and to be part of history. The reason people prevaricate, procrastinate and don't do things is because they don't feel safe, because they don't have the resources. And when I sometimes look at people's businesses, I think, thank goodness you procrastinated and didn't take action, because you would have completely and utterly burn yourself out, or whatever it is. So, but some people just with this energy are in that place, and you've just got to coach them through it and show that the future is safe, because the future is designed to be safe.
Brilliant.
So we have this inkling of an idea.
Yeah.
So our transition thing is really kind of looking and saying, okay, I've got this idea. Is there a market need for it? Is there any need for it? Is there any need for something that is half fork and half spoon? Is there any need for that? And you start to research and record. You start to go and find the communities where they're talking about the need that you're about the need. You're recording the language that they're using. So you know where they are hanging out. You know that there's a need for what you're going to be doing, and you're recording the language and the problems and the different things that is going on. If you don't do that and you miss that out, and I remember working with someone years ago, and they got down to this big marketing stage, and they'd built and they constructed their business, and they got teams, and they'd used all their resources that they had, and they didn't know where any of the people were hanging out that would like their product. They didn't know the language that they were using.
It's so interesting, isn't it? And I mean, that's why. So again, I'm gonna just use this and say, for those of you who aren't joining the Avatar Challenge, seriously, go and join the Avatar Challenge, #Avatar Challenge. You'll find the posts from yesterday and today, because the more you understand the language that people actually want to consume your product in, that they relate to, the easier it is for you to actually work out, as you say, is it needed, is it wanted, but B, actually for people to go, oh, yours is the product that I want and need.
Yeah. And I worked with someone, and they found that there was nobody. They wanted to move on to the next stage, and I wouldn't let them. I said, well, you can only move on to the next stage when you have found where those people are, and you found that they want what you have to offer. Otherwise, you're going to do everything. So this is the Avatar Challenge stuff, but it's kind of researching and recording and doing this is a challenge, and which is why it's great that you're doing it. It's vitally important. We also bump into the difficulty of this kind of wood energy, and this wood energy wants freedom. Well, I don't want to be tied down to one single avatar or one single person. I want to serve everybody. My thing, well, that's fine if you have a massive history, massive amounts of resources. Yeah, you can get away with not doing this because you just buy your way in.
But that may well not be the case for a lot of people watching.
And that may not be the case for a lot of people. So you can overcome it, but it's going to be a problem, and you can miss it out and it won't appear to be a problem. The next stage you get to, and this is if you've got lots of wood energy, this is a fun stage. So wood energy is related to spring. It's about ideas. It's about creation. It's about visualization. It's imagination. So this stage, you just go big. You go really big with your vision and your ideas, and you expand, and you just kind of have a magical, crazy time of just how big can you get the whole thing in your head.
Nice.
Okay.
I love it. I think a lot of
It's
people on
freedom.
the call can probably relate to this, and some
Yeah.
people are actually probably quite terrified of it. So what I want to highlight there is that we have all sorts within the Connection Hub, and we are unique, as you say. So I love that you are educating on us on the big question behind that, and on what they might experience around it. So you keep going.
Yeah. So what can happen here is one of two things. One is that people spend their whole time in this area and they're just imagining and they're doing and they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, having not done anything about their resources, their history, or their purpose. And they forget about that stuff, and they forget about this stuff because it just goes really big. But there's a value to going really big because it opens you up to something that you never thought of.
Yeah.
And like you say, some people are naturally in this place and they will spend too much time. They'll spend the right amount of time or too much time. Other people will keep it quite narrow, and it either's fine. You just got to recognize where you might major or minor. And I had someone contact me a couple of months ago, and they said, I'm an entrepreneur, Nick. You're an entrepreneur. Can you give me any ideas for a business? I said, okay, Gary, let's talk about entrepreneurship. And whereas some people do the opposite, they said, oh, I want to talk to you. I've got 20 really, really good ideas and 40 magnificent ideas. And I just want to hone it down to probably a workable amount. And then you just look at the history, the resources, the purpose, the market need and stuff. And but this time is a place to have fun, to experience. Then it starts to get a little bit tighter. And you say, okay, I've got this big vision, this big purpose, these big ideas. How does that match my resources? What's stage one? If I'm going to blueprint this out and build it, what would be the stage one? And stage one might be going through this whole cycle just to build up the resources that you need to do stage two. And stage two might be to build up more resources to do stage three.
Great.
And so on. And eventually you've conquered the world, but it might be 4 or 5 cycles you've got to do to get there. So this stage, this transition point is you blueprint it down. Okay, this is what's manageable. These are the resources I've got. And then you double check and you say, am I actually really passionate about this? Because sometimes we've got carried away with the idea or the big idea or whatever, and it's gone a bit logical and you say, does this still fire me up and light me up? If I was to think about this as my future, how does that feel? Yeah. Does that feel, God, I would love that future? Or are you bumping into a blueprint design that's giving you a life that really doesn't suit you anymore?
Beautiful.
Then you're also.
I love that you've just used those words, anymore, because I think there is something about, we buy into somebody else's idea for us, and then we start to get to know, maybe we bump up against kind of challenges or whatever it is. But I love that the implication there is you can check at any time.
Yeah, exactly. You can check it and you can go back and revisit these stages. So for example, I'm really exploring this whole thing of, I had quite a business where I would fly around to different events, different countries, and do different things. And that's how I had constructed my life and how it was. But environmentally, that's a pretty bad model to be running with.
I get that. I really do. It's a, I think as our circumstances change and as our context change, we need to make sure that the business, again, I'm going to call it business on your terms. We need to make sure that the business is keeping up with us and that we're keeping up with it. And as you say, using that beautiful word, constructing it in a way that actually it makes us joyful. It allows us to do what we want to do.
And it's considerate to the other people around you. My kids have left home. If I'm away traveling, then my wife is by herself with a lovely dog, whereas before she was with a house full of people.
Yes.
That's a different energy.
Yeah.
So my constructing and my blueprint is different. So hence we're running the event in Crew. There we go. As opposed to California and San Diego, where I was before.
Listen, Crew is a wonderful, wonderful thing. More on that in a tiny little while. Yeah. Tell the people some more about Fire, please.
Yeah. So and this is when you're getting down your brand, your message, and this is again bumping in. And where do you get that from? You got it from your avatar work, from all this stuff here. Miss this stage out, the research and record, you can't get your brand and your message.
Of course.
And you get punished. You think, well, I can't really work it out. Well, that's because you didn't do the research and record.
Yeah.
Okay. Next stage is we move into this, your marketing, and you start making your connections. And you do this thing that we call conscious construction. You need to be really conscious and thinking about keeping on constructing your business based around the blueprint, and consciously based around your resources and your purpose and your history and what you're about. People can get carried away at this particular stage, say yes to everything, and that fire energy, fire types, people warm to them, they love them, they say yes to everything, and have the possibility to expand and burn out. So this is a stage where if you're not conscious about your construction, you just burn through all your resources with all the opportunities and the different things that are going on, and the overexcitement. You become too fired up.
Yeah.
So the construction needs to be reined in a bit within the constraint. Doesn't mean it has to be boring. You just have to be safe.
No, and that's exactly it. And it's this whole, what is safe for me to do that allows me to still feel fired up, but that isn't going out, to coin a phrase, all guns blazing, right?
No, exactly. And what you've got as your map is your big purpose, and your history and your vision is guiding you to take you away from all the temptations that come your way.
Brilliant.
So what you say yes to. So what you say yes to is what really matters to you.
Great.
Based on the design. So this particular stage, we then move into this transition point where we start to connect with people and start to form partnerships. So we are doing some stuff together, and we get on, and it's because you kind of know what I'm about. I know what you're about. We know our vision and our mission and our this and that, and we both know our marketplaces. So we can have these sorts of discussions, and you can easily meet people and have partnerships.
Yeah.
But if nobody understood your brand or your message, they had no idea of your big vision, and you didn't have the resources to back it up, then you fall flat here. And this is where the rubber hits the road, and it's also where businesses go bust.
Right. Really important for people to know in that case.
Yeah. Because if you don't get this bit, and you haven't worked out your message and your brand, then you have to spend your whole time trying to sell what it is that you do.
And that's the one thing that actually, we do our best to encourage people on, is that actually you let all of the things that you've just talked about speak for themselves, so that it's easy to be booked, it's easy for people to actually choose you, because they know what you're about, they know what's happening, they know why you're doing it, and they're seeing it and thinking, yes, I could use that. So they get to choose it, and you've constructed it in such a way that it actually means you're not having to sell necessarily. You're doing it in a way that actually flows for you, back to that whole thing that we're doing. And by the way, I'm just going to ask everybody, feel free to pop your questions in. I'll ask Nick at the end of his go round for all of them, but I suspect that everyone is just literally sat there at home with pens, because it's very silent on the ground, but there's about 12 people watching, so
that's all right.
You're all writing, so somebody ping me and tell me that you're writing. Keep going, Nick.
The other thing that you can in my practice, I had a 2-year waiting list to work with me. The 2-year waiting list to work with me was based on this stuff that had gone beforehand.
And who wouldn't want that? Which one of you wouldn't want that? And so if and I'm just going to say that as a good for you, and what a brilliant example you are to all of the people watching, because I suspect that every person here would love a 2-year waiting list, and to hear that that's what you did on the back of the vitality map, the business map, that actually for me says a lot about how people might think about where their gaps are, etc. So listening intently is what's coming back at me, Nick, so you just keep going.
No problem. And I think it's also important that if you're in health or a therapist, you can't market in the same way as other businesses, because as soon as you market, it says to the world that you're not as soon as a health practitioner or therapist markets, it says that they're not busy. And as soon as we think here that they're not busy, the logical thing is means they're no good. It's not true, and it's thing, but it is a thing. So this is a way around that. So once you've got through the people and the partnerships, it starts to go into that earth energy phase. And earth energy is that late summer. It's those lazy, hazy days. There's a kind of a rhythm and routine and a slowness. It's about understanding people, making sure you understand your customers, you're looking after them, you're nurturing, you're servicing them. There's a rhythm and a routine, there's operations. And for some people, if you haven't constructed your business correctly, you end up doing all this yourself. And if that's not your stuff, welcome to your world of hell.
Yes. I have actually seen and helped many people out of this. As a coach myself, this is the place where I usually have to reconstruct and take them back and go, let's do it differently and let's see who else can help you, right?
Yeah. And the problem is because you didn't do something around here. Your vision and your ideas didn't really think out that you were going to end up here. And this vital business map, I have made a mistake in every single section multiple times. I think if we're all honest, we've all done stuff with, oh God, that's me. I've blown this, and I've ended up with, I've had to pull businesses because I think, oh my God, I've ended up somewhere that really doesn't suit me. And I just didn't construct it properly.
Yeah.
So we all do this. This particular earth stage is also, it's that earth energy. Their big question is, do I understand and am I understood? So you're looking to understand what's going on. If you've got a lot of earth energy, you can get stuck in this phase and spend all your energy and resources trying to over-serve and over-support your customers. And that's your trap. Hey.
So I love that you've just said that, because I've definitely fallen into this and I've had to change a business around entirely. And you and I know each other very well, that, you know, this one definitely is a sticking point, right?
Absolutely. You see my profile. I've got this a third of my energy. So it's a really easy one. It really, particularly if you are that caring, nurturing earth purpose, you'll fall into that thing, and it creates an unsustainability. So you said, oh, good on you for having a 2-year waiting list. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure it was too good on me. I think it was a badly leveraged business.
Fair point. I meant more as an example of what people might actually really love, but you're absolutely right. And that's exactly why, you know, again, that building it on your terms is how can you serve more and many. And again, I guess that comes down to what your water is right at the very beginning. You know, what's the size of the business that you would love to have? Maybe you'd love a 2-year waiting list with nothing else happening, right?
Yeah, because it was 2 year, and I say I never marketed. I did an advert in a newspaper in 1986, and that was it.
Wow.
After that, it was fine, which just suited me to the ground. But there were design issues with it. So this is when you start to get your market insights. You start to really understand what it is that your customer wants next, and where does that go? That starts to feed in here.
Great.
So everything starts to feed back in. The next thing is you're starting to collect data and feedback. You have to, metal energy is a bit more mechanical. It's measurements, it's numbers, it's data, it's metrics. And if that's not your bag, and you don't start to collecting data and feedback and collating in a really efficient way, you create problems later on when you want to come into your next phase. Yeah. Because you haven't got the data to back it up, and you don't, or if you don't know your numbers and you don't know that your margins are actually much tighter than you thought they were.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, we've got our Speaker Insight retreat coming up on the 21st to the 23rd of June, and one of the most favorite pieces that we do on the whole of it, and it is definitely not what people think they're going to find the most favorite, is when I bring out the magic mixing desk around knowing their numbers, because actually the numbers guide everything. And so we love this phase. Even if you have to get somebody else to do this phase is vital.
But if you have these sorts of energies and you're over here, then you're blind to that, And guess what? You get trapped in a business that isn't necessarily sustainable or working, and you burn out. So each one of the ones is vitally important, and
It
it
makes
serves you
sense.
later.
I'm just gonna interrupt you for 1 second. Tim Gray's watching, which is wonderful. Hi, Tim. Lovely to see you. And he's saying, you know, sort of like we were talking about the waiting list and no marketing, which is perhaps what you do if you are a high fire person, right?
In terms of not marketing.
So he's saying waiting list, no marketing.
Yeah. Normally, 5 people market like anything because they love doing it. Because they're very happy to get in that world of networking and doing this. I don't like to do that particularly. Yeah. Actually, I'm being really honest. I was successful by accident.
And good for you. I'm delighted because it means we're speaking here. Tell us more about this metal energy.
Yeah. So this metal energy, it's when you start to really kind of scale up. This particular earth energy stage, it's when the money really starts to come in. This is when, if you've done it right, this is when people get the kind of new kitchen, new house, new wife, new whatever it is, husband, new hair. I was looking at new, whatever it is. This is a kind of, oh, I've made it. I can now in reward myself.
Beautiful.
And that then creates, in a way, a slight issue, because you then go into, once you've had the, oh, I can take a breathe, I can take a sigh of relief, I can pay back the people and money, I can know I've done it, I'm comfortable, this is love, this earth energy, let's go out and have meals and enjoy. And then you get into this metal energy phase of mechanics, dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. Okay, the business is pulling in money, it's going like this, we're kind of simplifying, we're automating it, we're measuring, we're adjusting it, we're doing all the mechanics. Oh my God, I'm bored. This wasn't a life that I wanted. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, inventing things, going out and speaking with people and doing all these different things. So sometimes at this metal energy stage, metal energy, their emotion is grief and loss. Sometimes at this particular stage, we can have immense grief and loss for the adventures we had at the beginning.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, completely. So Elizabeth is just actually saying, love the Chinese medicine wheel, balances all in life and business. Easier said than done. I do find that steel, energy, metal figures and teach and tech is not my zone of genius. So this is where I get my support. Yeah,
and it could be, I'm not, when you're looking at balancing people out, it's a very sophisticated pattern. And you shouldn't, you shouldn't think, okay, if I've got this energy, the perfect thing for me is to have someone with this energy. That may or may not be true, and it may only be relevant to a certain point in your business. Yeah. You may need at the start of the business the same energy as you to bounce off and around, and only need this at a completely different time. This may be getting someone with lots of metal energy in your start of your business could be the worst thing you could possibly do. Yeah, and that might be perfect later. Yeah. So this can be a grief stage or a stage of when metal energy is about detachment, disconnecting. It's connected with autumn. Things end, finish in autumn. So this is the point at which, if you've done it well, you can, if you choose, to detach from your business. Yeah. If you've done it badly, you're trapped in a living hell. It makes complete sense. And so I think now people are probably able to see the whole of it on screen, and it's like, oh, hang on a minute, where am I at? So this is brilliant information, and I'm sure that there are pings and ahas going off all over the place. It's still really quiet on the ground because I think you are just stunning people with this, which is why I love having you here. So any of the questions that you've got for Nick, feel free to pop them in here. My whole thing is okay, so Nick, how do I work with this? Okay. As a speaker, author, or coach, obviously I'm asking on behalf of all of us. Yeah. So the first thing really is to, and I'll stop sharing screen now at this particular stage. The absolute first thing that you've got to do is you've got to understand yourself. You've got to know yourself at a very kind of deep level. You've got to understand what your energy is and the pattern of your energy, not, oh, I am a creative person, or I'm a this person. You've got to kind of really understand yourself like never before, and really start to understand the people around you. So that's the first stage. So just take the vitality test. It's completely free to anybody that wants to take it. Yeah. We can make available these slides, and the next thing to do is really think, okay, where have I been in this? Where am I in this business? What stage am I at? And what have I perhaps skipped over or majored in, and how does that play out? The work we do is designed to be really, you can kind of guess, you think, oh, okay, I think I didn't do that. Just go back a little bit of time to revisit it, and suddenly what it does is it just opens up the business. It's suddenly just, oh, okay, that got it unstuck, and it starts to create that flow. But the first thing is really to understand yourself.
Brilliant. You're about to lose absolutely everybody whilst they run off and actually do it. So just because I put the link in doesn't mean you do it right now, people. Yeah. Keep listening. I promise I'll send him away in about 5 minutes. You can just tell which types are actually on there. Like, I'm off to find out. I'm excited.
Yeah, hang on there. Just
because there's a couple of extra little bits, because for me the big thing that you actually did, so first off, can we find out a little bit more about it? Because I know you've got something really special happening, and I do want you to tell everybody. And then I want everyone, I'm going to ask you a question, because this is what got us talking about this in the first place, because of this whole super pig. So all of you, hang on if you can to the end, because I really need you to hear this, because it's magic for your world. So is it not setting you up or anything, Nick?
Yeah, so like I said, the first stage is really kind of getting to know yourself. So take the vitality test. We've also got an event, I think we talked about before, in Crewe in July, and I think you can put a link to that. And if you're listening to this as a replay in the future, just go to our Five Institute /events. And it'll tell you where we're doing it. And that 2 days is really designed to really get you to really understand yourself at a very deep and profound level, and particularly understand some historic aspects, because sometimes we can be very damaged by our history of our energy. So it's designed to do that. The other thing that you can do is private message me, and if you want me to kind of just do a one-off session with you, and we'll just look at your business and say, okay, I think you've just got stuck at this particular stage, or I think I'm really, really quick. You can just, in one session, you can usually say, this is where your block is. You've missed out this. Just go back and do this. Or you're procrastinating, or you're under stress because you've designed it for something that is really going to not suit you. And we'll do that looking at your vitality test.
That's really kind of you, Nick. Thank you.
I'm more than happy to just private message me, and we can.
And Nick is also, just so you know, Nick is actually in the Connection Hub, so that's also, you know, a good place to ping him. Obviously not for something personal in this way. I love the offer that you've just made. It's so kind.
No, it's there's too many people that are in very difficult places, and often the most gifted and talented and brilliant people are the ones that get stuck on this map.
Yeah.
And those are the group of people that we need to have fully in their game at this moment in time, which leads on to the super pig.
Yay! Tell them all about the super pig.
Yeah. So basically, what we're in an Earth pig year, and this is the end of a 12-year cycle. Now, Earth energy is about understanding, coming together, and assimilating. So this is the end of 12 years where we should, as a society and as a world, come together. We should have also within ourselves assimilated and learnt about ourselves to move on to the next thing. However, this year, these things don't always work out as planned. So we've actually had groups of people that have come together to defend their position, and groups of people that have come together to with their own truth, their own understanding. So this is a very important year that we actually come together in a greater collective, which is, again, is why I love your community. There is a common set of values, a common set of beliefs that's actually quite open and understanding to other people.
Yeah.
So we need to do, we really need to step into this particular year, and we need to do three things. We need to develop a very strong rhythm and routine to do our best work.
Yeah.
So whatever that might be, we really need to have that. The second thing we need to do is we need to diligently dig in. This is the year where you will be rewarded for everything you do, and you will be richly rewarded for everything you do. If you do nothing and you prevaricate, you will be rewarded with absolutely nothing. If you take action and you move forward and you dig deep, you will be rewarded for whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
And digging pigs are not dirty animals by nature, but they are prepared to get mucky, and they're prepared. So this is a year to get mucky and dig in and solve stuff, deal with stuff, go back, gain some understanding, revisit, just roll your sleeves up and get mucky.
Yeah.
And this is also a year, which is why I love what you're doing. This is a year to share with other people what it is that you've learned, so you can get them out the mud and you can get them moving forward and you can get them coming together. This isn't a year to be precious and defensive or worry about perfection. It's a year to get out there, because the next 12 years are a very different energy.
And I can imagine that there are people sitting at home, or maybe even standing at home like me, and just actually going, yay, I'm so pleased about that. Or there are people going, hell's bells, better get my skates on. So either way, whichever it is for you, I cannot recommend it enough. And Nick did a brilliant little well, Nick did two things. He did a beautiful half-hour entice me in summary. Oh my word, that's amazing. And I would highly recommend, if you like what Nick is saying so far, then go and actually do the full length version, which is a juicy afternoon of your time, just really thinking through how you might like your time. So I'm gonna pop the link in here that allows you to do that. Because it just,
I'll give the link to the free 25-minute one, which might well be enough to get you going. And then the other one it was a 2.5-hour mega exploration. And we also gave away, at that particular one, we gave away Find Your Purpose, the Enlightened Procrastinator. We gave away Flowing Relationships. We gave away just.
It was a very generous thing, is all I can say. But honestly, for those of you who want to, and I know you stay on here and watch for pretty much an hour, we're on par for, like, sort of, Kelly, I'm sorry when you're rewatching this, we're on par for the Sam Rattling sort of takeover in terms of the length of this live. But it's so vital for people to understand that the flow of your business may well make or break you, and it may have nothing to do with you. It may have to do with the flow around how you're actually constructing your business. And that, for me, was just so important for people to understand. And especially this last little piece around ensuring that you understand that what you do in this year sets up the next 12. I mean, that's magic, people. Magic.
Which is why included in the Super Pig, we just gave everything you will need to make it happen.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And so I'm going to ask this as well, and I have actually got your Facebook group kind of link ready for people as well. But if people want to be in touch with you, Nick, what is the best way to find you?
You could just private message me on Facebook. That's probably the easiest. If we're here on Facebook, that's probably the easiest to do it.
And the other thing I'll say is that whilst we have a beautiful community in the Connection Hub, Nick's community is also a really beautiful space that you just get little snippets of this type of information that sets up your week slightly differently. And so I'm also going to encourage all of you to go and join in there and just meet some of the most wonderful people that are in there as well. Obviously, I'm in there, so you can say hi to me, but it's not about that at all.
Yeah,
it's really good. So Just honestly, if there are any final questions, there is Elizabeth just saying, how do we get that wondrous material? Michelle, you've already kind of got the link now. So the on the 5institute .com/solutions, you'll find that larger one. So you'll see that one. Elizabeth's just saying, yes, absolutely. When the earth is ravaged and the animals are dying, a new tribe of people shall come onto the earth, from many tribes, colors, creeds, and classes, and who by their actions and deeds shall make the earth green again. They shall be known as the warriors of the rainbow. Hopi prophecy, ho. Nick Haynes, one glorious rainbow warrior. Thank you, Nick.
Oh, bless. That's so.
And they're all saying it's totally magic. You're absolutely amazing. And in fact, Tia's just saying, strangely, I've felt this for ages, that I needed to find a way to stop swimming upstream and build a business that is unconventional and suits me better. And I think that's basically what we're talking about. So I think we can probably end there and just thank you on behalf of everybody listening and those that will be.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure. And thank you very much for having me here and for walking a very, very similar path to me, to make this a better world for
me too. I think there is something to be said for, we are all in this together, and actually as a community we are the leaders that lead the world into where we actually go, which is what I think both yours and our community is all about. So
we've been born into this time. The earth needs us. This is our watch. It's not happening on our watch. So this is not a time to
joy and delight. Thank you. Have a beautiful afternoon, Nick, and to all the rest of you, go and get busy, or go and take your tests, or go and do whatever you want to do. Many blessings. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.